Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this Thursday morning webinar series. I am Chloe Tetro, the coaching lead here with Care. For this morning's topic, we're going to cover hydration. We're going to look at why it matters, why water alone isn't always enough, and why just upping the liters over and over and over may not be the best approach. So I'll talk a little bit about the roles throughout the body, and a little bit about recognizing if there's too little water, if you're suffering from dehydration, or if you're having a little bit too much. So to get rightly stuck in. So water is a vital nutrient in our body. Just like plants wilt without water, our bodies can't perform their best when they're dehydrated. We wilt as well, to wilt or not to wilt. So hydration is involved in almost every bodily process. In fact, water makes up about 50 to 70% of our body weight and plays key roles in metabolism, maintaining electrolyte balance, which we'll have a look at in a minute, why that's so important, transporting nutrients across the body, lubricating our joints, and providing structure to cells. So in other words, without enough fluid in our body, the internal engine can't run efficiently. It'd be like all getting stuck up against each other, desert mode. Dehydration can lead to very serious problems and even impair how our brain works. So for those that are following a lower carbohydrate way of life, hydration is actually even more crucial than it usually would be. So low carb, especially ketogenic diets, have a diuretic effect, or those that are on diuretic medication. There's a tendency to lose water and sodium. So salt equals sodium in its pure form, not the kind of rubbishy bits we'd get in the supermarket sometimes. So that's why the first week of a low carb diet, ketogenic diet, there is an awful lot of weight loss that's usually attributed to water weight. When you cut your carbs down, insulin levels drop, which causes your kidneys to excrete more sodium or salt. So that sodium loss can upset the balance of other minerals, which can show itself in feeling a little bit unwell, almost like you have a bit of a cold or a hangover, actually would be more akin to it. But for those even not on a low carb way of eating, although I'll always wink and say, try it out, it's great. Water and hydration will play a huge, cannot stress this enough, part in how your body runs over smoothly. So why it matters, bam. It matters a lot, spoiler alert. So staying hydrated isn't just about quenching your thirst, right? It's directly affecting how your body functions from your head to your toes. So firstly, you have metabolism and energy. So water is the medium for countless chemical reactions in your body, so including those that generate energy. Being well hydrated will help your cells to produce energy efficiently. For example, water helps to deliver oxygen and other nutrients in your bloodstream. Blood plasma is about 92% water, so your tissues get the fuel that they need. If you're dehydrated, your blood volume drops and less oxygen reaches your muscles and your brain, which can leave you feeling very tired and very sluggish. So even with mild dehydration of about 2% of your body weight can cause huge fatigue and reduce your endurance during exercise or during your day, to be honest. Like that's how most people notice it. They go, I'm feeling a bit tired. My brain's getting a bit sticky and harder to make thoughts coherent. So many everyday cases of low energy or afternoon slumps can simply be due to not being hydrated enough. So your digestion then. Hydration is key for a healthy digestive system. Water is a major component of your saliva and stomach juices that help to break down what you eat. So water helps to unlock nutrients from food. It dissolves vitamins and minerals so that they can be absorbed into the body, and it helps form saliva or your spit to start the digestion process. So food will start to be digested in saliva, particularly starchy food. So adequate fluid is also essential to keep food moving through the intestines, pull the thing straight flush, and to soften the stool, essentially, that which will prevent constipation. If you've ever been told to drink prune juice or more water for constipation, that's why you're essentially getting the flow. So proper hydration can improve nutrient absorption and regularity in digestion. So to your brain then, so fogginess, right? We all feel a little bit of brain fog. I definitely know I do, and can find it harder to concentrate if you're thirsty. So that's because your brain depends on water, as is with every part of the body. The brain is about 73 to 75% water, just a big cucumber sloshed into your skull. And fluid keeps your brain cells working well, essentially. So water acts as a shock absorber for the brain and your spinal cord, and it carries nutrients to brain cells. So even mild dehydration, again, that 2%, can impact your concentration, your short-term memory, and your mood. So you might experience difficulty focusing, slower reaction times, or irritability is a huge one as well when you haven't had enough to drink. It's like you're not you when you're hungry. The Snickers line is also, you're not you when you're thirsty either. So if you need a mental boost, if you're feeling yourself, get a little bit sleepier in the afternoon, try a glass of water. The staying hydrated will keep you sharp and support your mood and overall cognitive function. So then onto the body, right? Physical energy and performance. Proper hydration, we would know from, ads for hydrating boosters for athletes, all promoted by athletes, and just, in sports in general. So proper hydration is critical for physical energy, of course. Water helps to regulate your body's temperature through sweat. It lubricates your joints and keeps your muscles working optimally. During exercise or physical activity, losing fluids can quickly lead to fatigue. For instance, a dehydrated muscle is more prone to cramping. And that's something that we see quite a bit in sports fields, no pun intended, where, players will get calf cramps especially, or if you yourself have either done an activity like cycling, been out on a hot day in a foreign country where it's lovely and hot and you're sweating profusely during the day, if you're on diuretics, and if you're somebody that's quite dehydrated, calf cramps or leg cramps, particularly at night, is a sure sign that your hydration needs a little bit of tweaking in there. So that's why athletes in general will emphasize hydration for performance. Even a small deficit can really reduce strength and endurance. Now, on the flip side, being well hydrated, of course, will improve blood flow to the muscles and can even help prevent that late afternoon slump. So in short, every system in your body, from your digestive tract to your brain, works better when it's hydrated. It's not just about the water, it's about keeping the balance of the fluids in check. So with regards electrolytes that I mentioned a while ago. So what are electrolytes? You have your sodium, potassium, magnesium. Electrolytes is a word you might have heard tossed around, particularly if you've seen the movie Idiocracy. There's a great play around with electrolytes in that one. Especially, it's used a lot in sports. Athletes drink labels that are trying to sell you the high athlete lifestyle. It sounds technical, but really all it is referring to is minerals in your body that carry an electric charge and keep your body's fluids in balance. So the main electrolytes we care about, especially if you're on the low-carb diet, but even if you aren't, are your sodium, potassium, and magnesium. So there are others like calcium and chlorine that can play a role as well. We will just park those for the sake of brevity for today. So sodium is the primary electrolyte in your blood and extracellular fluids. It controls fluid balance. Essentially, sodium helps determine how much water stays in your bloodstream and your cells. It's also crucial for nerve impulse and muscle contraction. In fact, sodium works hand in hand with potassium in every cell. When sodium ion goes into a cell, a potassium ion comes out, and this exchange allows an electrical signal to fire, which is amazing, really, if you think about it. So sodium will be like the traffic warden, directing water and electrical signals in the body. If you don't have enough sodium, you may experience symptoms like weakness, low blood pressure, and confusion. That's why hyponatremia, am I saying that right? Hyponatremia, or low blood sodium from overhydration is dangerous. And we'll have a look at that in a second. So on a low carb diet, particularly because your body dumps more sodium, getting enough is vital to avoid the headaches and dizziness that can come in the early stages of switching over to a low carb diet. Now, don't be afraid to salt your food to taste. It can really, really help. So for reference, literature around low carb dieters says that they may need 1 to 2 extra grams of sodium per day instead of your kind of quote unquote normal, what is normal, particularly in the Western typical diet, but here we go. They need a little bit extra, basically. Now, potassium, it's mostly found inside your cells, like inside your cells, and works as sodium's partner. So it's critical for heart function and maintaining a regular heartbeat, as well as muscle function and nerve signaling. So having too little or too much potassium can cause things like your muscle cramps. Now, usually it's too little that is more common, but sometimes it can happen that people have too much. It can cause irregular heart rhythms and fatigue. You've probably heard of things like bananas being high in potassium, but there are far, far greater sources of potassium out there that won't break down to glucose and send your blood sugars racing. Things like avocados, nuts, and my favorite source of it, which has both sodium and potassium, bacon, our good friend bacon. So ensuring that you have enough potassium helps to prevent muscle cramps, such as those nighttime cramps that I mentioned. And it's vital for that fluid balance. Now, the last one we'll touch on here with the electrolytes is magnesium. So magnesium is involved in hundreds of enzymatic reactions in the body. It's absolutely brilliant. It is just the MVP of the body as far as I'm concerned. So notably, it will help your cells convert nutrients into energy and support DNA and protein synthesis. So your muscles and nerves rely on magnesium hugely to function properly. Magnesium helps muscle fibers to relax after contraction, and they will also help with nerve signaling and transmission. So if you're low on magnesium, you might experience those muscle twitches, those cramps, or sleep disturbances. Magnesium can help with the heart rhythm again and bone health. Now, some other uses of magnesium, which is absolutely brilliant, is if you're a bit stressed out, a bit anxious, if you have nerve pains, muscle pains, magnesium's great at just relaxing the whole body. If you've sleep disturbances, a particular type called magnesium biglycinate is especially good. If you have regular cramping and a little bit of anxiety and stress, magnesium citrate is also great. Because it relaxes the system, it will also help to loosen a digestive system that's a little bit bunged up. So brilliant for lots of different things. So all these electrolytes work together to keep your hydration in balance. It's not just about the water. We need these guys in the mix as well for your body to actually get the benefits of hydration. They regulate the distribution of water in your body's compartments inside versus outside of your cells. So that fluid balance is basically what is meant by keeping hydrated, the highest rated. So some signs of dehydration. Or am I too little, too much? There we go. Some signs of dehydration. Thirst and dry mouth, right? They're going to be the obvious ones. So feeling thirsty is your obvious clue. Though note that by the time you feel thirst, you're probably already dehydrated. Dry or sticky mouth, dry chapped lips, dry eyes are all signs that you need a little bit more fluids. Dark, strong smelling urine. So color of the urine test, Darker usually indicates that you're a little bit more dehydrated, and as it gets lighter, that's usually, but not always, usually a sign that there's a bit more hydration happening in the body. Dizziness or lightheadedness. Now, hopefully you won't get to this point, but if you've got check on the first two, and you might start to feel faint and dizzy, especially when you're standing up too quickly, you may be dehydrated. This is due to lower blood pressure from reduced blood volume, which we chatted about a while ago with all the trifecta of the electrolytes coming into it. Headaches, very, very common sign. Dull headache, so nothing that's like sharp, acute, bam, in it right there, but it's like dull. It's like having a wet rag over your head type of pain, which I know that makes sense to some people and not others, and I appreciate that. So a dull headache is a common dehydration symptom. Many of the afternoon type headaches, or that kind of mild nagging headache after a long meeting, can be due to not enough water or just putting up with some points that could have been popped in an email. So fatigue and lack of concentration, as I said a while ago. When you're dehydrated, you often feel tired, lethargic, or less focused. Your brain isn't getting enough of all the nutrients and oxygen that it needs to peak efficiency, and even your metabolism starts to slow down a little bit. So you might find it harder to concentrate, or that you feel sleepy and weak. Muscle cramps or feeling weak, of course, then is our last kind of main signaler. If you've lost a lot of fluids and electrolytes, you might experience some of those famous muscle cramps that I chatted about a while ago. So they'll be your kind of overall signs and symptoms that your hydration levels are starting to come down. The one that I notice the most is my speaking becoming a little bit noisier, but also just feeling a little bit tired and like I would want to reach for a coffee. Getting into the habit of reaching for water first and see, does that make a difference? Will basically make sure that you're not always relying on coffee, which okay in small amounts, but is going to start to play little havocs with your circadian rhythm if there's too much of it consumed. Water could just be the thing that helps prior to that. So the too little, generally most adults will need more than 4 cups or 1 liter of fluids per day to avoid dehydration. So a particular study from News Medical will say that people who only drank around 1 liter per day were often mildly dehydrated and experienced more headaches and difficulties in concentration. For most people, 1 liter a day is not enough. So there is the kind of health authority guideline out there to have 6 to 8 glasses, which is 1.5 to 2 liters of fluid per day as a minimum in temperate climate. And that's an important caveat. It's going to be different where you live, what activities you're doing, your metabolism in general. If you're, a little bit overweight, if you're a little bit underweight, there's a little bit of fluctuations, but as a ballpark figure, 6 to 8 glasses, 1.5 to 2 liters per day. If you're getting significantly less than that, especially if you also lose fluid through exercise or from heat, you're likely underhydrated. So pay attention to the color of your urine and the few other bits that I mentioned. Now, too much is also problematic. We're a pure Goldilocks sort of breed, us humans. Like planet Earth is in the Goldilocks zone. Every part of our body needs to be in the Goldilocks zone. We're creatures that require and demand balance, unfortunately. But too much, I beg your pardon. So it is possible to overdo water. Drinking extreme amounts can lead to overhydration, which dilutes the sodium in your blood, the thing that we need to keep the show ticking over and passing all these electrical currents throughout the body. That will really upset the sodium balance in the body. So a condition whose name I can't pronounce ever properly, but I'll give it a shot. Hyponatremia, same one as a while ago. I don't know why it just won't go in. Essentially, if you flood your body with water faster than your kidneys can excrete it, the sodium levels will drop and water begins to move into your cells, making them swell. In the brain, this swelling increases pressure and can cause serious problems. Early signs of overhydration can mimic dehydration. So things like your headache, nausea, fatigue. So it's tricky. You might think, oh, I should drink more water because I've got a headache. And Chloe mentioned headaches, which makes it even worse. So a severe overhydration can lead to confusion, seizures, coma, and even be fatal. Now, I don't mean, I said 1.5 to 2. If you have 3 liters, you're not going to keel over and die. Don't worry about that. I'm talking greater amounts, things like 4, 5, 6 liters, which if you're in an extremely hot country and you're sweating profusely because you're not used to the weather conditions and you're, very, very dehydrated, then drinking that much is counterbalancing, right? Provided you're getting a few little snacks along the way with salt, magnesium, and potassium. So drinking to the amount that's basically matching your sweating and matching your internal thermostat is absolutely fine. Having the 3 liters a day will not make you keel over, but just to say that more is not always better. You won't get super cognition by having 5 liters of water. You won't get super energy by having that. At a very particular point, it becomes, what's that people say? Nope, it's gone. So people say something, diminishing returns. There we go. Where after a certain point, it's no longer giving you the desired effect. Can you tell? I need a glass of water right now. So to be clear, water intoxication is rare in everyday scenarios. It's usually seen in endurance athletes who drinks gallons and gallons without electrolytes present as well, or in things like water drinking contests. As a general guidelines, don't force huge quantities of water in a short time. Right, stands to reason, but common sense is not as common as one may think. So, how much to drink? Aiming between 1.5 to 3, right? Said 2 a while ago in their general guidelines, but overall 1.5 to 3 is perfect. Try to get 6 to 8 glasses of fluid a day. And I always get the question, how big is a glass? A regular tumbler. I mean, not a shot glass, not a tiny whiskey glass, a regular drinking glass of water. So 6 to 8 of those per day. And as I said, it's not a one size fits all. So where to go for hydration? Water, of course, is going to be the gold standard. Plain water is best and simple way to hydrate. It has no calories, no sugar. It's readily absorbed, not readily said, but readily absorbed. Whether, it's tap filtered or bottled, still or sparkling, water should be the kind of go-to. Now you can flavor it. I get a lot of people saying, I just don't like the taste of water, which I think is incredible because I wish I had those type of taste buds because to me it just tastes like wet. But if you're somebody that struggles with that, or if your tap water is a bit fluoridy and whatever else it caught along the way, you can flavor it. It's not going to take away from the experience that your body's having of the fluid to pop in things that you enjoy, cucumber, berries, melons, things like that, just pop them in. Electrolyte drinks, like hydration drinks. Now, I would be mindful because coming away from this talk, it might seem like I'm saying, go have all these sports drinks that say, oh, they've got electrolytes. Be careful of the labeling because even though sports drinks do have electrolytes, they usually are loaded with sugar. So then I think, okay, what's the lesser of two evils here? If you're in dire need of electrolytes there and then, go for the sports drinks by all means. But I wouldn't recommend those as a day in, day out when you can get those electrolytes from foods and have water instead, because essentially all of that glucose that is usually packed into those as well will have a negative knock-on effect on the health as well down the line. So just be mindful of the sugar content that's happening in those. Now, coffee and tea, I get asked quite a bit. Good news on that front for tea and coffee lovers. So the beverages do count towards hydration. The caveat on that is that they're diuretics. So you are getting hydration for a point, but it is basically accelerating the dehydration process. If you only had cups of coffee for a day, I would say do the urine color test. It's not going to look amazing. So even though you are getting some water intake and it is helping, it accelerates the process of dehydration a little bit. So that's what I mean when I say if you feel like going for a cup of coffee, try a glass of water in between. And avoid the likes of sugary drinks altogether. As I said, if you're in a situation where that's what's available, that's what's available. Do not worry about that whatsoever. Like, don't ever go thirsty, don't ever go hungry. That's what I say on a regular basis. But be mindful of fruit juices, particularly. Just because they've got lots of fruit in it doesn't mean that it's good for you. It's just essentially removed the fruit from the pulp, the fibers, all of the different nutrients there. And basically what you have is liquid, fair enough, sometimes vitamin water. So liquid vitamin sugar is what I meant to say. So I would say do not rely on fruit juices for hydration, because you're essentially going to find yourself drinking quite a lot of it to satiate thirst. Now, it's grand if you're having it once in a while, if you like the taste, if there's a particular juice that you like, the combination, if there's ginger, turmeric, and you say, hey, it's great for my joints, happy days. But just to be mindful of, the likes of orange juice and apple juice as a way to satiate your thirst. Do you say satiate? Quench. There we go. Might not be the best option. So nice to have once in a while, but try not to rely on it. So in summary, best drink for hydration is going to be water. Having foods that include your electrolytes. You can also get electrolyte powder if you've got poor appetite and don't like these particular foods. You get those from health food shops and sports shops. Just add them to your own bottle of water that you've added limes, orange, mint, and whatever strikes your fancy. Start early with the hydration. And this is one of the biggest tips that I started to follow, because I always found it hard to drink water, mostly because I just forget and have coffee instead. But a few years ago, someone said to me, start your day. The first thing you do that day is have a big glass of water by the bed and just drink it, because you wake up slightly dehydrated. And when you're dehydrated, remember, you're slower moving, your mind is slower moving, so you're more prone to stick to the bed. Or when you're up, you're more prone to faff around in your slippers for X amount of time, because you're essentially a little bit dehydrated to begin with. So starting your day with a glass of water will set you up really, really well cognitively and physically for the rest of your day and your energy levels. And try to bring it in little and often. If you sit at a desk, if you have your bottle next to you, or if you have your bottle and you bring it around the site with you, we're natural fiddlers as people. If there's like a blank moment, we tend to try to fill it up with something. So for lots of people, that ends up being the phone, emails, this and that. The other thing, if you have a bottle there, you're more likely to fiddle with it, which essentially means you're more likely to drink it. So listen to your body as well. Start to recognize what are your triggers for thirst before you get to the jeepers, I'm gasping. Are there things that you can start to say, I do notice I get a bit crabbier with people around me, or I think I'm hungry, but I'm actually not, I'm thirsty, these type of things. So start to get real comfortable and consistent with listening to your own body signals. If you're gone to the loo, check the old urine test and include electrolytes if needed, if you feel that there's something that would be beneficial to bring in. And hydrate according to your activity and climate. Right, I'm done for today. Any questions, happy to answer them. Otherwise, have a lovely rest of your week. Enjoy drinking water, I guess. And we'll chat to you guys again next week. Have a good one, and we'll see you then.